Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about everything tabernacle prep. Today's video we're going to be going into different tips, hacks, and all that good stuff on preparing and keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. These are camping tips, while we are going outdoors or even indoors or even in your backyard. These tips, Lord willing, will be helpful. So if that's what you're interested in, stay tuned. Okay, so I don't have the list in any particular order, but I do want to kind of categorize it. And the first category we're going to start in is I have a whole list ready. This is not an all-inclusive list. We know there's tons and tons and tons of tips and hacks and tricks of everything tabernacles or just camping in general. So I did want to put out that disclaimer because I feel like I'm forever learning something new. These are majority of things that I have learned over the years, and then some things that I've asked others that shared with me, and now I'm going to share with you. Okay, so we're going to begin by talking about prep and packing tips. Okay, so one tip is to utilize bins. Utilize bins as much as possible. I know a lot of people, when you're first, looking to camp and things like that, you may go to suitcases or things like that, or different bags. But I highly recommend using bins. Bins not only keep things safe inside and sealed, but it really helps keep you organized as far as your items, as far as your tent area, because it's not the biggest of space, but it's really helpful to use bins. And then even after you're back home, using those bins to store your items for later use. So definitely get you some bins. Another tip, if this is not your first go around, or maybe you just have some camping type items laying around the house already, you want to do inventory in your household first and foremost. So if you've already camped before, go through the items that you've brought back home. Or if you have not camped before, just go through your household and see if you have flashlights laying around, or see if you have anything that you could use for your camping list prior to going out to the store and buying, because you can spend a pretty penny if you're not really being cautious about things that you may have already have opposed to what you really need. So take that tip. And that goes into my next tip. Create a checklist. Find you a checklist or create a checklist. You really want to have something to keep you focused, to keep you in order, so you know the essentials that you need, so you know what you already have, so you know what other people have already found to be necessary. So you definitely want to create a checklist, and I would say do one for your family. If you have a family, do a personal one, and do one for a menu. While you're out there, you want to eat, so you definitely want to try to plan a menu in advance if you can, because it's really helpful. Trust me, as much as you can plan for, the better. And another tip is to separate all of your items by category. Okay, so you really want to categorize your items. Some categories can be bathroom, oral care, kitchen care, your clothes, your blankets, pillows, all of that. You want to kind of categorize it in different bins. I know for sure I typically have a kitchen bin, because kitchen, you need quite a bit for your kitchen, whether it's cooking utensils, your eatware, whatever you need for your kitchen. Having a separate bin for that really helps. And then having like a smaller bin for like bathroom necessities, and another bin for like self-care necessities, personal care, deodorants, tissues, wipes, things like that. Separating by category really helps you stay organized, and you'll be able to find things a lot quicker, because being out camping, it can get a little you want to be quick sometimes when you're trying to grab things. So Okay, next. And I'm looking at my list that I've made for the video, so you guys might see me looking down a little bit. Next tip. Prep your clothes in bags. So prep your clothes in bags by, for each person in your household. I have not done this tip yet, but I've heard so many people rave about it. I'm actually going to be trying it this year. If not for myself and my husband, for my children, because just having something planned out already to minimize, the amount of people you have to really search for items for, it's going to be helpful. So what they have explained to me is that you pack each person's full day's worth of items for their outfit, from underwear to undergarments to your regular garment to your socks, diapers for the children, whatever you need for that particular day. You're going to put that all together, fold it nicely, roll it up, whatever you have to do, and put it in a Ziploc bag and mark it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day. But you'll just do that for however many days you're going to be camping. And I think it's genius. I think it's genius because there's times where you're kind of like fumbling and rumbling through things, and then you're like switching things the day of because you're like, no, I'd rather you wear this, or I'd rather I put this on. But I feel like that will minimize that so much by just having it like ready and available to go, where it's like neat, it's organized, and like I said, ready to go. So I'm definitely gonna be trying that tip, and I think you should too. Next, I've actually talked to someone who gave this tip, and I second it. I really am a true believer of this one, and that is to pack light. A lot of us tend to like to pack everything we have because we don't want to forget anything, right? And that's okay. I get it. But as your sister that's been through it, that's been there and done that, I'm telling you, pack light. Okay? Especially if it's your first time. If you're watching this video, I get you. Okay? Just pack light. The lighter you can pack, the better. Okay? A lot of us are in the habit of packing like we're going to a resort, or we're going somewhere for a month. Pack light. We're just going camping. A lot of times you're just throwing something on to be comfortable. You're going to be outside all day. You really don't need much. The bare necessities are what's going to be essential, but of course we like to overpack because we just can't decide on what to pack in the moments, and that's what's important about packing early. So that was another tip, for the prepping part. Pack as early as you can. Start as early as you can. You'll thank me later. Because I've been in situations, even multiple years, where we started late and it's just not pleasant. So start as early as you can. But back to what I was saying, pack light. If you can, coordinate your accessories to as many outfits as you can, because that will minimize the amount of things that you want to bring to match things, right? So if you're packing neutral tone clothing items like browns and blacks and tans and grays, that cameo style, that olive green, because a lot of us like to do the cameo when we camping, right? It just makes us feel like we really out there. When you're packing neutral tone clothes, you can pack accessories that pretty much go with every single outfit you have. So that minimizes, like head wraps, for example. I may only need 1 or 2 head wraps because they pretty much will match all the clothes that I'm bringing. And that's what I recommend you do. Earrings are the same, jewelry the same, shoes the same. Try to match it to as many outfits as you can so you do not have to bring so many things. Okay, another tip. Bring extra clothes, especially for your children. Do not get upset if your child gets dirty and you did not go out there with extra clothes, because your sister is here telling you to pack extra clothes. Children will get dirty. Okay, and we shouldn't be the parents saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. Sometimes you're by the water, sometimes you're around dirt, sometimes you're around who knows what, and you're outside, the kids are eating, you know, they're playing with different things, you know, there's activities that you don't know about that gets the kids dirty and wet, and you want to just have extra clothes for them. So I highly recommend you pack extra clothes for your children, and maybe one or two for yourself as well, because you just never know. Another tip when you are planning and preparing and packing and all that, prepare your meals in advance. As many meals as you can plan ahead and prepare, I'm telling you, it's gonna do you justice. I typically plan a lot of our breakfast food items ahead of time, so I will make the complete like breakfast burrito, for example. So what I do is I typically cook all of the things required to make a breakfast burrito, and then I assemble a burrito, and then I freeze it. I freeze it until it's time to go, and I make sure when I do pack it in my cooler, it's in a cooler with a lot of frozen water jugs or ice to keep it frozen as much as possible. But those are typically the first things that we're eating the first day or two that we're out there. And all I have to do is pop it out of the bag, and I typically have a propane stove that I just fry it over in a little bit of oil just to heat up everything inside, and it be on point. And that goes for any meal. You know, you can create you can cook a soup, you can cook a gumbo, you can cook rice, you can cook many different things and freeze it prior to leaving, and then as long as you prep your cooler properly, it should stay frozen as long as possible. You know, you just plan those meals to be utilized as soon as possible within the first few days. But that goes to say, you know, you do what you can, and then of course, depending on how long you're going to be out there, you very well may have to, you know, go get food and then prep it while you're out there as well. But the more you can prepare in advance, the better. Oh, and another thing is, I typically bring gloves just for that very reason, because you don't always have a sink readily available when you're outside as you would in your home. So I typically bring gloves because it's so helpful to when you're cooking or changing diapers or whatever you have to do, to really help you, you know, keep your hands clean and sanitize as much as possible. Of course, you still want to wash your hands and use sanitizer, but it really helps with being able to cook and move and do different things all at one time when you're outside if you have gloves. Because the other thing is, I do try to season as many things as possible prior to leaving, but you know, you will have to season up some things while you're out there, and sometimes you need your hands. So you definitely want to pack you some gloves. I highly recommend it. That is one of my very much essentials. Okay, another thing is to find you some lawful marshmallows. Now, the kids love to roast marshmallows over the fire, and if you have not did your due diligence to go find some lawful marshmallows, you are slacking. So go find you some lawful marshmallows, and that just means, you know, the gelatin in it is not pork, because we do not eat pork. So they do have gelatin. I mean, they do have vegan marshmallows out there. Some of them, let me look it up. Let me see. One of them that I know of is Dandies. I believe you can find these on Amazon. You can find them at Walmart, different grocery stores. And then there's also the Pasquez. I believe that's how you say it. But it's Paskez. Those are some pretty good marshmallows as well that are lawful. So go get you some marshmallows so you don't miss out on those yummy s'mores for this camping trip. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit more of the essential items. So when you're looking to buy a tent, I highly recommend that you double the number that is listed on your tent. Okay, because that number is going to be the determination of your comfort and the mobility that you have within your tent. So the number on the tent is pretty much based on the amount of people that can actually fit in the tent, but not so much of, you know, how comfortable it's gonna be. So you really want to try to double that number and increase that number as much as possible, unless you're just really trying to get in your tent, lay down, go to sleep. You know, you can get a 1 person, 2 person, 3 person tent, but for those, especially families, I'm here to help you. You need to really double that number, triple that number if you can, because it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work, trust me, it's not gonna work. So just get you a bigger tent according to, like, multiply it by 2, multiply it by 3. If you're a family of 4, multiply it by 2 and get you a family tent for 8, or, you know, something like that. It really depends on the tent as well, because sometimes what they do is put space in unnecessary spaces of the tent that you really can't use. So really just take that tip and apply it to your life, because it really depends on the person and the family. So, but that is just a tip I have. Just round up that number if you can. Okay, another tip would be to get an additional privacy tent. This is a smaller tent which allows you to shower and double up as a restroom. You can go inside your regular tent. You know, there's a way to, you know, make a barrier. You can put a curtain up, a shower curtain, whatever you have to block off a portion of the tent and make that the private area. But, you know, with restroom being in your tent, there comes, you know, foul smells. So if that's not something you really want to suffer through the entire trip, I highly recommend getting a smaller privacy tent that you can set on the side next to your tent, really close, so you're not taking up a lot of additional space, but just put it really, like, connected to your tent, and you have a whole separate privacy area to use the restroom and shower. I'm not gonna really go into that portion. I'm gonna link a video right up above where you can go watch another video where I talked about, you know, ways you can create your own DIY portable potty, toilet, and how you can utilize different things to take showers that are comfortable and heated and feel nice. So check out that video if you can. Okay, so another tip prior to leaving, this is we haven't even gotten to the campground yet, but prior to leaving, you want to put up your tent as early as possible. Make sure there's no holes, make sure there's no mold. If you've used it in the past, or just in general, because some people send tents back and sometimes the companies send them back out and you just never know. So just put your tent up, do an inspection of the tent. And then what you want to do is, it's called seam sealing. It's like I believe it's like a silicone where it seals different areas of the tent that may have like little tiny holes or things like that. We typically order ours off Amazon. It's like a little tube, and we just go around the tent edges and we seam seal it, like we're sealing the seams of the tent. It really helps to avoid any leakage, and we typically do this a week or a few days before leaving out. So I highly recommend it. And alongside that, I highly recommend getting waterproof spray. Waterproof spray, what you do is you're like close contact, you'll spray your tent. I've also demonstrated this in the video above, so you guys please check that out. It's at the end of that video, but I show you how you get up close and personal and you spray your tent down with that waterproof spray. Because what this is going to do is allow that, if it's like a really hard pour down, it's going to roll off the tent, opposed to trying to creep up in the tent seams, and you know, it'll just avoid creating a lot of moisture inside your tent. So I recommend it. Okay, and then on top of that, once all of that is dry, what I recommend, which is another tip, order you a really good bug spray. I typically get the Sawyer's, I believe it's called. I don't know how to pronounce everything, but it's yellow, and it's one of the best bug sprays I've ever used, because I never really dealt with bugs while we were out camping. And it's been a few years now, so we go back to the same one, but we always spray down our tent outside and inside prior to leaving with that spray. And then when we get there, we kind of finish out the bottle with whatever's left, along with additional bug repellents. Yes, I do. But I highly recommend, spraying it down beforehand and allowing that tent to absorb as much as it can, and then putting it inside the bag. And then once you get to your campsite and put it up, it's like a bomb. Bugs out there probably like, we ain't messing with this tent. It's time to move. So I highly recommend doing it before you leave. So going back into the food a little bit, and pack it as many things as you can. So with your snacks, I haven't done this one as well. Well, I kind of have, but not to the extent what I'm about to give you as a tip. What you want to do is pack all of your snacks for a particular day in a Ziploc bag. This is really good for children. This is really good for children because children constantly need something to keep them entertained. And having them a snack bag really, one, allows them to know exactly what they're gonna have. It helps you not have to find food, and you know exactly what they're gonna have for that day. From their drink to their snacks to their lunch, whatever you're gonna put in there, to the little treats. Pack it with what they're gonna eat for the day, and make sure you're able to grab it before you leave out your tent. Depending on what you're gonna do for that day. I mean, what I typically do is I usually pack everything in like its own bin, and then the day of I'm like taking it out the bin and putting it in baggies before I head out. But look, the more you can prep ahead of time, the better. So if you can do that while you're already home, you're gonna be good. So I highly recommend that tip, especially for families. Or just wives, for your husbands that may just be busy, and you want to just have their things ahead of time, because you never know when they have to get up and go, and it's something they could just grab and head out, and they know they're going to have snacks for that day. So I highly recommend that one. Okay, so to save space, you can also roll your clothes. If you're going to be bringing suitcases or bags or anything like that, you can roll your clothes. You can put them all together, just like we talked about earlier, in a complete outfit, but you can roll them because it makes it more compact, and you can put more in all together, so you can pack less baggage. So that's a really good tip if you want to save space. Another tip will be to bring umbrellas. Umbrellas are not only for rain. Like, you really want to bring it for the rain, because you just never know when it's going to pour down and you're outside. You could be walking somewhere and it'll just pour. So I highly recommend you just walking around with a small umbrella if you can, or a bigger one if you can. But if you can just have one at your tent, you're going to thank me later. So it's not only good for rain. Like, if the sun is out and you're trying to just be outdoors instead of sitting in your tent, sometimes it's good just to put an umbrella up so you can be, sheltered from the sun. So it's really good to bring along an umbrella. Okay, so we already went into this, but I'm just gonna throw the tip out there again. Bring you a fogger and as many pest control as you can, whether you're going natural, whether you're going chemical, whatever works. I do not leave it at home. Do not forget it. If you have children, they're gonna not want to be bothered with the bugs. So I really highly recommend, the mosquito repellent bracelets, citronella candles, foggers, bug spray, all that, y'all. All of it. Sometimes people have the little ant pellets or whatever they're putting down on the ground. It's like some ant sand to get the steer them away. Whatever you have to do to make your campsite comfortable, do it. So now we're actually getting into the campsite. So that was a tip for the campsite. So once you have, put down all your pest management, all your pest control, you want to go in with